Okay, so good afternoon, learners.
Good
This is
afternoon,
the
sir.
second online interaction for the course on human behavior. And I see I have someone with me already. It's good to see people online and face to face in this interaction because it's very rare to find people coming online and face to face doing interaction. So I'll start with a few basics as in what we do here. So generally we take up questions, whatever you have, your feedbacks and suggestions that you have regarding this course. In addition to that, I briefly explain what the course is all about. And if there are something else, I just put it there for you to understand. Now, there are multiple ways of asking questions in this online session. There is this team meet. There is a chat session box where you can put in your question. You also have this YouTube link, which is simultaneously running. You can put a question there and I can answer those questions for you. And then there is a forum where you can put in your question. Somebody from the TA group would answer that question. If it's difficult, they'll forward it to me and I'll take up this question and answer it for you. And lastly, you have this human behavior doc link in Google, an Excel file where you can put in your question and I can take those questions and try to provide me an answer with the limited knowledge that I have about this particular subject. So I'll start with, since we have somebody online, I'll start with our friend here, Arun Pandey. So, Mr. Pandey, whatever questions you have, with your feedback, suggestions, please go ahead and put them to me. Then later on, I can take up questions from other students.
Posted my questions in the Google Doc. So, but I can, yeah, I mean, tell them live also. So, I think I have. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. It's a little bit low in volume, but I can hear you.
Okay. So, all right. Now, in fact, I have missed the previous session, which was, I think, before or sometime in February. So I didn't get notified today, of course, was just by chance. So I made it a point that I will be there. So, you know, basically, for me, I will say it is my first brush with the psychology. I mean, earlier, I mean.
Okay, that's great.
So initially, when we were like your first two lectures, which were there. So while going through this, basically the whole confusion, I mean, later concepts are more or less clear. Okay, this is sensation, perception, memory, and how, I mean, various theories. But initially, I mean, if we see there have been many schools and also like for me, we read about nature and nurture. So like whether in the like what we see in modern psychology, I feel what I have been seeing when I'm studying, I mean, the lessons and the videos. So the modern psychology also basically to some extent you can say nature and to some extent nurture. So how, I mean, whether this debate has converges into at some point or is it still there that, I mean, there are two distinct schools who say that it is based on the human actions or behaviors are based on, or even we talk mental process, they are based on nature or nurture. So this is my first question actually.
Okay. So should I be hearing both your questions and then answering, or should I be answering one after another?
One after another will be better, or whatever
okay,
you say,
great.
sir. I'm going to go.
Great, great. So let me take the first question that you have, because these questions are also there in this sheet, and it says that the debate about human behavior being influenced by nature or nurture converges at some point in modern psychology. Now, this is a very good question. The idea is that there is nothing called nature-based or nurture-based. So there are two viewpoints and they interact. There is no behavior which is purely nature-derived, and there is no behavior which is purely nurture-derived. So some form of it is nature, some form of it is nurture. Let me give you an example. So let's say somebody comes from a great line of singers. Now, there is a certain gene in the left part of the brain, which is known to do this artistic ability, particularly linked to singing. So he'll have that edge, or he'll have that that ear, or maybe the vocal structure to produce great music. But the fact is, if not trained, he will never acquire that particular level of expertise. Let's look at Kishore Kumar. He had that ability. He never got trained, but he was a very good singer because he comes from that particular line. On the other hand, nurture has its own role, mainly where you're brought up decides how you will sort of fare in life. So even if you have, let's say, a very good background or a gene which can express its intelligence. Now, given the fact that if you're not given the adequate kind of opportunity or the adequate kind of conditions, this intelligence will slowly die down. I wouldn't say die down. What would happen is that the sharpness it should get, that would not be there. So both plays a role and both interact with each other. Yes, there are certain kind of biological functions which are purely linked to nurture or nature, I would say, but nurture. For example, there is kind of a gene, because I do work with sleep and memory. So there is a kind of gene which is responsible for letting people have 4 hours of sleep, and that is sufficient. Now, that is not a boon, it's a problem. But then some kind of psychiatric patients have this overexpression of gene, and it is in 1 million that you find one person having this gene and that kind of an expression. It's called the BLA gene. And because of that, even if the person has 3 hours or 2 hours of sleep, he will be perfectly okay. But that will show up later on in terms of emotional trouble. So yes, in a very brief way, what I could say is these are not independent systems. They sort of interact with each other.
I mean, like now, suppose we have still those division that there are some psychologists who are studying only from that point of view, and then some psychologists, they are studying psychology on the based on the behavior or external stimulus or something, or we are now, I mean, like all thoughts have converged into one, and now there is some consolidated approach towards psychology. How we are studying psychology now?
Correct. There are multiple approaches, and there's multiple approaches. So a biologist would see the same behavior in a different way. For example, let's say aggression. So a biologist would be interested in finding out those hormones which relate to aggression, and he'll be expressing the aggression in terms of the hormone. The social psychologist would explain it in terms of the frustration hypothesis, so how the society makes him do certain things. On the other hand, if you have a cognitivist, he would talk about how his thinking process, the person's thinking process, led to him taking that kind of a behavior. And so the same behavior can be explained by different people. There is an amalgamation of it, and there are different viewpoints. All of them explain the same behavior, but the viewpoint taken is different. As for the question of nature and nurture, they are not independent, as I said, except some physiological abilities, which is nature dependent. Other abilities are always, they work in cohort with each other, so the nature and nurture aspect.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, and so there's a second question as well, which is related to the idea that behaviorism and gestalt. And what I can see is there's some confusion, because your point of view is that it is the same, it's the two sides of the same coin. Now,
sir, see, what is answer for me? As I said, my first brush with psychology. So for me, I mean, possibly still maybe by the time we finish the course, we are better off. I'm not able to see, like the Gestalt says that experience shapes perception or something like that. And behavioralists say that we can't study the mind, so we study the behavior and go to mind. So like here we are saying that we have to see the behavior and read what mental whatever is there. And the Gestalt is saying that no, whatever you experience, based on that, the mind will be shaped. So, I mean, how do we, I'm not, actually, it is really confusing for us.
I totally understand. And let me ease it out for you the easiest possible manner. So let me first explain the Gestalt. Now, the Gestalt is in direct opposition with what the structuralists say. People like William James. Now, what the structuralists would say is, if you have a behavior, you break it down, right? So let's say that I am feeling cold.
Yeah.
Now, the structuralists were hardcore physicists and they were physiologists. So all of their analysis would work in terms of physics or in terms of the natural sciences. So if they want to explain the word cold, how do they explain it? Now, cold is a psychological term because it has no measurable definition, as in somebody would say 26 degrees cold, somebody would say 24 degrees cold, somebody would say 18 degrees cold, depending on where you are coming from. So it's a word.
Yes.
How do I explain that? So since the physiologists or the structuralists were interested in the physics part of it, they said if you want to explain cold, let's explain cold in terms of the temperature and the degree of shivering, right? And so temperatures can be measured in terms of degree of accurateness. So 1 degree and even below 1 degree, you can measure it. In terms of shivering also, it's a body reaction. So you can measure how much shivering is occurring and those kind of physiological aspects, which can be measured in a unit form, in a ratio form, which basically means that you can break it down into further as a continuous variable. So continuous variables are variables, or continuous variable is a measurement where you can keep on breaking something. So let's say if I'm measuring electric current, I can have 1 volt of current, then I can have half volt of current, then I can have 0.25 volt of current, and I can keep on going till 0.00000, and still it is there. Simple concept. It's the same concept that you have in terms of the derivatives or the calculus. On the other hand, what the Gestalt would say is that no, see, behaviors are not or cannot be broken down into simple forms, right? So if you want to look at why somebody does something, you cannot look at just one part of it and explain behavior. So somebody slaps someone. Just looking at the slapping, you cannot say that he is an angry man and he is slapping. If you want to look at why the person slapped, you will have to go to the history, which is basically, that is what he says. The Gestaltists say, they say that the sum is part of the whole. So the whole behavior of slapping has to be recorded in terms of what led to it. So you have to go to each part, as in who frustrated him, where, what memory, and all those things integrated together will lead to the slapping. So taking just one part of it, the hitting part of it, cannot in any way prove an aggression. It could be a simple reason that somebody pushed him and by chance the hand went to the other person's face or body and it hit. That could also be the thing. So you have to integrate together. Structuralist takes a behavior, breaks it. Gestaltist takes all the broken parts of the behavior, integrate them together, and create the behavior. So opposite to each other. Now comes the idea with behaviorists. There was one misconception in what you were explaining. What behaviorists say is that we are not interested in finding out what causes the behavior. We are interested in seeing what led to it and what behavior was there, right? As simple as a stimulus response. So if somebody is shouted at, and out of 100 shoutings that I do at him, if 80 times he remains calm, I can say that he's a calm person, right? Because the other 20 times what will happen is he'll remain silent. They are not interested in finding out why he is silent. It could be that the 80 times that I'm measuring him, he is in front of his boss and he is fearing the fact that his job will go away. Now, the reason that he is not shouting back is not because he's not aggressive. The reason is that there is an external factor which is making him not shout. But what behaviorists will say is behavior is mechanistic. Take the person, shout at him, and he will remain calm. So shouting at a person remaining calm is the actual behavior. This has nothing to do with his experience and his learning. So they're not involved at all with the brain or with the organ mind which creates whatever behavior, right? So it is all mechanistic. Reason, most behaviorists studied animals, and animal mind cannot be studied. So what would best happen is, so if there is a mice, I'll give him something. One of the normal behaviors of mice is burrowing. Give a mice something, he'll burrow it. He'll try to hide it, right? And this is the behavior which is used in animal training. Or how do we make elephants ride bicycle for that matter in a zoo, or some other hamsters roll. The behavior of a hamster is moving his leg, and that makes him go round and round. And so he enjoys that behavior. And if you somehow abolish that behavior or try to disrupt that behavior, a reaction would be. So behaviorists were only interested in what was present and what led to it, right? They were not at all interested in what other factors could be there. And it's a pure game of probability. So saying that A is there and B happens, and if A and B are related to each other a number of times, the chances are that in future also A and B will be related. But this is correlation, and correlations are never causations, simply meaning that if every time there is a fire and let's say there is smoke, we cannot deduct from it saying that wherever there will be smoke, there will be fire. What behaviorists are doing it, simplify it in terms of what stimulus is present and what response is present. Beyond that, they never said anything. But this is a good way, or this is, I would say, the behaviorists were their theory prevails everywhere. Look at any behavior; it is all cause and effect. There is it's all stimulus response correlations. No behavior has causations in it. Whether it is the universe coming in, or whether it is the presence of God, or any behavior that you want to take it, it is all stimulus response or correlation. And that is why the behaviorists are, at the end of it, they are always right. But as a cognitive psychologist, I'll have to say that they were mechanistic. And because of being mechanistic, what would happen is they would not be able to explain all types of behaviors. Some behaviors, so as I said,
Yes.
person is angry, he's very angry, and he generally beats other people when he is scolded at. But then if there is a boss present, he would fear his raise, or he'll fear the something related to his boss, and he will not react. But if the wife or the son shouts at him, he will shout back in a more furious manner. This accountability, that as situation changes, his behavior changes, is not taken care by the behaviorists. These are very wonderfully taken care by the cognitivists or other fields of psychology.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, sir. I mean, that was like basic. Sometimes you just confused with the basics. Okay, here also experience is involved, here also behavior is involved. Then how do we differentiate? So now I can say that the gestalt was more, I mean, it is more wide, expansive, and a study of behavior, I mean, which takes other factors into account, right?
Right. So gestalt is always taking smaller pieces and building it. Think of it as a glass ball. Now, when you see the glass ball, the ball is there. Break the glass ball, drop it on the floor, it will become pieces. Take the best Fevikwik in the world, try to make it back, but you will not see the glass ball. Although these are parts of the glass ball that you are putting them together, but it will never be the complete glass ball. That is what the problem with Gestalt is. Gestalt says always look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture may not be a summation of the smaller pictures. That is what the Gestalt say. The structuralists, the complete opposite, they would say that take small pieces, add them, take a bigger behavior, put them into smaller pieces, and you will.
Yes, yeah.
A reductionist approach, that is the classic approach that any physicist would do.
Now, sir, tell me one thing. I mean, for a beginner like me who is just, trying his hand at psychology, for like, can you suggest something like there was one book that I think I'm not remembering the name, but it was recommended in suggested reading. One book of psychology I have ordered, but something very basic, which like evolution of psychology, something how from one thought process, school.
The schools of psychology?
Yes, so something which can, like for a beginner like me, I mean, who can understand that how it has developed.
Right. So there are a number of books on the history of psychology which you can look at, and there is. I have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, sir, a mail will be appreciated, or any message
sure,
also.
Please. So drop me a mail. The mail address would be there.
Yeah.
On,
yes, sir. I will do that.
What I'll do is I'll find a book which will tell you how it all started. But in a very basic way, it came from philosophy. Philosophy was talking too much abstract. So there's a group of physiologists who thought that why not take philosophy and do something with it so that it can be measured in the natural way. And they created the idea of what psychology is. The classic psychology comes from generally most books would say it started in the German country, but it didn't actually. Even before the Germans, the Americans had a version of psychology, but it's not popularized. I think Friedman's book, or I forgot who the author is, but they talk about how it started in the American country, because William James, the founder of American psychology, was way before William Wundt. So that was there. But William James had his idea of stream of consciousness, how consciousness flows like a river. And so it was more philosophical, although a part of it was psychology. Just like what our tradition, Hindu tradition, has a lot of psychological concepts, but it is embedded in philosophy. So extracting that from philosophy becomes difficult. Because right now I'm also trying to understand the literature, Hindi literature or the Hindu literature of how psychology is embedded in our Vedas and all. But the problem is it is too complicated or it is too combined in philosophy. Separating out is a difficult thing. But yes, definitely I'll just drop me a mail. I'll give you the best books or the easiest books rather to understand how it all started.
Yes, correct. And yes, sir. Those were my questions. Yeah, two things.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So thank you for being here. And so other people who are here, let me take their questions. So I have Shubham Madan, and Shubham has a question. I'm qualified GATE exam in psychology, and I have qualified for PhD in UGC NET and JRF. I want to do a PhD. Okay, Shubham. So yes, you can do a PhD, and you have to apply for a PhD program if you want to work here at IIT. There is an advertisement, and you have to respond to that advertisement and then sit for an interview. And if you qualify in the interview, they will have you for a PhD here. Let me also now take some questions from this YouTube chat. And so the first question is by Jasmine, and Jasmine says, "Good evening, sir. Can you please send all hall ticket I paid fees for?" Okay, Jasmine, what would happen is I don't look at hall tickets, so I'll pass your query to the concerned team, and they will make sure that you get the hall tickets. So other people who are with me, so Shubham wants to do a PhD with me. Okay, Shubham, so apply through the normal process, and what will happen is we will take an exam. You have to sit for an exam, and if you pass the exam, depending on how many seats are vacant with me, I may invite you for a PhD with me. So all other people who are here with me, if you are here with me connected today through either YouTube or through this team forum, or if you want to put a question onto this sheet, please go ahead. I'm here online for the next 30-35 minutes. So if you have a question, you can post these questions. Obviously, the way you do it is you can put it on this chat box on the team forum. You can put the questions on this online response sheet, or you can put a question directly onto the YouTube session. So I'm here, as I said, and if I don't receive a question for some time, I'll have to switch this session off and then maybe take another session. So I request you all, whoever you are, you connected with me, please put up a question, suggestions, feedbacks. The online sessions are meant for you. And so I'm here. So Hussain is there, and Hussain says, good afternoon. Jai Hind, sir. So Jai Hind, Hussain. If you have a question, please go ahead. You can ask the question. Shurubhi has a question. No, it's taken back. So I'm waiting for Shurubhi. So while I get more questions from people, let me do a quick review of what happens in this course. So this course is of human behavior, where we talk about human behavior and the basic of psychology. Not online. So I guess I'm not online. Here I am online again. I hope you can hear me. There was a connection drop. Anybody online can verify if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So good. So as I said, the course was about the present course is about understanding psychology. So what I do here is I teach the basics of psychology. We start with looking at how psychology started as a stream, since this is a psychology 101 course, so we don't teach you a lot here. I just introduce you to the concepts of psychology. So I start by explaining how this course really sort of starts. Psychology diverges itself from philosophy. Then we take up some basic processes in psychology like sensation, perception, and attention. And further on, I explain to you some concepts related to social psychology, then emotions, motivations, and that's how the course is built along. It's a 20-week course where I try to give you the easiest possible introduction to psychology. Of course, what would happen is that there are other courses where you can further on move from here and learn more. So Shurubhi, Tanu has a question. Good afternoon, sir. So how do we apply the knowledge we learn from you to practical life in terms of understanding and responding to human behavior around us? Okay, Shurubhi, what would happen is that this course just introduces you to what psychology is all about, and whatever you learn here in a very subtle way, you can use these learnings into your daily life. Now, if you want to apply psychology per se, or in a practical way, you'll have to go to advanced courses. For example, there are courses on clinical psychology and abnormal behavior, which will teach you, or courses on stress and coping, which will teach you ways to manage your stress, or there are courses on cognitive psychology, engineering psychology, which will teach you how to use the knowledge of cognition into designing systems and playing around with systems. But yes, whatever you learn here from this course, this can be applied in a subtle way to better understand yourself and interaction with others. So Sam has a question. So can you please summarize the week in short with additional insights on Stoicism as a philosophy, and how can one implement it in the real world with practical psychology? So San, what I'll have to do is first read Stoicism myself. I have a basic idea of it, but then without more knowledge, it's not wise on my side to give you the philosophy. So what I'll do is I'll read up a little bit of Stoicism, and I'll maybe come back with what it has to offer and how it can be applied in the real world. Shorts world. Good evening, sir. Can you tell me how to prepare for human behavior exam, which is going to be held in April month? Assignments for final exam. Okay. So Shorts world, what you need to do is to solve all your assignments properly. Go through the video lectures, and one advice is don't read the lectures or don't listen to the lectures in one go. It is always advisable that break the lectures into 2 or 4 parts. go over it one by one, and lectures are not enough. You need to also read the assigned book, and it doesn't take too much of your time. So maybe couple of hours per day or 1 hour per day and a good book, and that's would be enough for you. In addition, there are some notes which are there, the lecture notes. You can go through them. So the videos, the lecture notes, the books, and in addition to that, the assignments that have been provided. If you can solve all of those assignments, or even try all of those assignments and be part of this kind of an interaction, I think you'll have very good numbers or very good marks. Now, even if you do the assignments and listen to the lectures and do a little bit of reading, you will get definitely get very good marks in the exam. Yes, sir, we can. Yeah, you. That's good to say. So, sir, I failed in one of the IGNOU Arabic language course, and I'm feeling a bit depressed. I know I performed bad, not bad to fail. Okay, I performed bad, bit not that bad to fail. Okay, so Sen, what has happened, and so there's no point crying over something spilled milk. What you need to do is to understand that failures are actually a route to success. It's very easy to say, but let me explain it to you. So if you don't fail, what would happen is you'll not know what not to do in an exam, right? Think of failures as a measure or as knowledge, which will tell you what not to do. Everybody tells you what to do in life. But if you look at failures, failures will tell you what you should not do. And when you look at what not to do and sum it up, all that knowledge, at the end, you will have the thing that you want, because there's only one way. Have you seen mazes? If you see mazes, the correct way to solve a maze is start from the goal and reach to the starting point. And that's the easiest solution. But what I would say is the best way for you is to solve a maze in such a way that you fail. When you do that, after multiple failures, you will learn what not to do. And so your success would be guaranteed. So my suggestion would be, don't get depressed at all. What you need to do is you need to find out, or you need to understand that this failure is actually one of the bridges or one of those stairs which will take you further to your success. And so that should be how you should be thinking. So go on for a couple of days and then let it go and start preparing in a fresh way. Think about what all could have gone wrong. Think about all those things which could have led to you failing. And there's no point in blaming anything or anyone. So think about it in terms of what could have gone wrong and try to correct this time. And I can guarantee you would have a very good marks or a very good performance in your upcoming exam. So Asen has another question. So how shall one prepare for an exam tomorrow? Excel and clears flying colors. I mean, what shall the temperament and study orientation for working professionals be? All we need to understand is that look at an exam in this way. Nobody clears every question in an exam. Of course they do, but the best approach to clear an exam or get a good marks is to look at what portions you can cover. Now be true to yourself, and what you need to do is to find out what are the best chapters or what are the best topics that you know very well. If you know these, or if you practice those which you know very well, what will happen is you will secure a good amount of marks. Once you have done that, then target those questions or those topics that you fear about. That is the approach that you should be taking in any exam. So what you should be doing is, when you enter an exam hall, you get prepared for all those topics which you easily understand and leave them to the end. So that what will happen is, at the end, when the time crunch is there, since you know these topics, it will be easier for you to answer. Tackle the harder questions in the beginning and assign it a time. If you cannot tackle a hard question within the first 1 hour, leave them and do all those questions that you know very well. And that way you will secure at least a very good marks. And that's the approach that you should be doing. So divide and conquer is the approach that you should be taking in a question paper or in an exam. What you should do is those topics which you know very well, you should attempt or learn them and design the exam or solve the exam in such a way that more time goes to those questions which are difficult and less time goes to those questions which are easy for you. That way, if you practice, you would be doing very good in an exam. So Rahul Sharma, assignments are sufficient to score 80%. Assignments with the lectures and the lectures, the assignments, and also the transcripts which have been provided to you. If you do all three of them, then it would be more than enough for you to score around 70 to 80%. Now, if you want more marks, you should always follow the book or read the book which has been prescribed. Rahul Sharma, so I didn't qualify GATE in 2023. I scored 23 and this year 28. This is my final year in BTech. I did not waste a year, so I plan to join in company and preparation with job will manage time. So I plan to join in the company and prepare. Okay, that's good, Rahul. As I said, assignments and video lectures, but not in one go. Look at these lectures by breaking it, and so that should solve the problem for you. So Rahul Kumar, again, there's a question by Rahul. So I feel totally disappointed while I saw the results. I don't feel well. I know it hurts to not get what you want. So what you need to do is take it with a bit of salt. All you need to do is understand that maybe this is one of the times that you failed and it was not under your control, but that doesn't mean that you're not efficient or you are not meant for it. All you need to do is to take some time off, let it settle down, and then start appearing or preparing for the exam in a new focus or a new way. So Sam has a question. So special about those who got 90 and those who score average like 60 to 70. I mean, is there some special approach that winners and toppers take over? It's not the question of luck, Hussain. Those who score above 90 have a well-planned program for it. So what they do is they have their time management skill plus the way they attack the problem. It's in a different way. What most people tend to do is people who score average of 60 to 70%, the moment they see a question, they start attacking it. People who get more than 90, they have a scheme. As I explained in one of the schemes, this is just one way of doing it. What they do is the questions that they know very well, they'll keep it at the end. And the questions that they think that there is some doubt about it, they'll try to give the first initial 1 hour or a half hour, depending on how much time is available with them, to those questions and try solving it, right? Also, they don't try to make too much of guesses. So whatever they know, based on that, they'll try to solve a problem. Sometimes all it needs is to use the correct approach. If you use the correct approach, if you plan out how you're going to approach an exam, and if you study in a phased manner and in a controlled manner, you would be able to score 90%. Scoring 90 or 90 and above is not that difficult. All it takes is to change the way you attack questions or to change the way you think, and then progress. It's not that people who score 90s don't fail, but they don't cry over failure. What they do is they get back up again and start doing things in a new way and try finding out what is the problem. So instead of blaming somebody else or putting the blame somewhere else, they start looking at what went wrong and how to correct it. What most of us tend to do is, if something goes wrong, we tend to blame something else. And that is where the first line of problem is. So what you need to do is understand that the failures that you have are, it's nothing special. Everybody fails, and failures are actually good, because when you fail, you tend to know what all things you should not be doing. That has cleared your way, or that has provided you a good way or enough knowledge of how to reach the goal in a more specified way. So what is so Susan has another question. What is human behavior approach and theory like of Thomas Edison or Einstein? Or even after failing, they did marvelous scientific field. Can one change his behavior? Example. It's the same thing as I said. These people, Thomas Edison, Einstein, or anyone who has succeeded, they follow the same logic. It's the idea that failures are actually successes, and failures give you enough knowledge of what not to do. Nobody teaches you. So when you write a thesis or when you write a paper, nobody tells you what not to do. Everybody will find you results which match with previous results. But if you get a thesis or if you produce a thesis where you find out that you failed, you have provided enough information for all those people who follow you to not do the mistakes that you have done. And so you have added up to knowledge. And if you look at the way, or if you look at learning and knowledge in this way, you will probably learn more than agreeing with something or finding out ways to succeed. And so that's the basic behind, or that's the basis behind how your great people in this world actually succeed in life. So other people who are here, please put up your questions. I am online and I'm taking up questions and providing my suggestions, providing my viewpoints on your suggestions and feedbacks. I have limited knowledge about this subject, and based on that limited knowledge, whatever I've gained by reading and teaching over 18 years, I'll try and put your queries to some kind of a satisfaction. So thank you, Hussain. It's great, always great to be appreciated for something. So other people who are here, if you have questions, please go ahead. Your questions are most welcome. If you have feedbacks and suggestions, they are also welcome. Feedbacks are good because these feedbacks help me in designing the course in a more efficient and much better way. So I'd invite you to put up your questions and feedbacks and suggestions. We still have around 15 minutes left. I invite you to put up your questions, whatever questions you have, and I can start taking those questions for you. So in the meanwhile, I'm waiting for people to ask the questions. Let me then take another question. So Hussain, how can we believe the best use of these sessions and leverage them at its best possible way? So these sessions, as I said, Hussain, the easiest way to do it is whatever questions you have. So when you do this online reading, there is a lot of questions that you may have. The first approach should be reading the book. So knowledge-based questions or book-based questions can be solved by reading the books. But those questions where you have severe doubts, as in you're not able to solve it or you don't find a solution in the book, or a novel question where you think that if you've asked people before and they've not answered questions for you, or you are not satisfied with their answers, you can come online in these sessions and ask those questions. And as I said, I'll try to answer them for you with a level of satisfaction that should satisfy your query and knowledge. Now, the thing is, there could be questions which at the online session, I may not be fully confident in answering. So what I would do is I would take those questions back and I would write an answer or to you in the forum, or in the next session, I will take up those questions for you. So this is how the best way to use these sessions would be. If there are other questions, please go ahead and ask your questions. I am still with you. This is the second live session for the course on human behavior, and I'm online. We still have some 10 odd minutes left for this session, so please go ahead. This is a chance for you to interact one-to-one and face-to-face with me. So whatever your suggestions, whatever your questions, please go ahead, write those questions and suggestions, or you can come online. Now, given the fact that it may be possible for you that you never went online or you missed the session, don't worry, there are other ways to reach me. All you need to do is put up your question in the forum, and I'll take those questions in the forum and I'll try to answer those questions for you. Also, if you believe that the questions are not answered up to your level of satisfaction, you can put those questions directly to me through an email. The only caveat here is that since I have other works to do, so as and when I find time, I'll definitely take your questions and answer them for you. And these are only for questions which are directly put to me on my email, right? Or I would answer those questions on the if there is an online session, I'll answer those questions for you. All right, so Hussain has another question. So when it comes to religious ideology, some theories are given saying that whatever we don't see, we don't experience, or based on previous experiences like Charvak, should not believe in God or Creator. Okay, Hussain, I'll answer your question. So the thing is that, yes, it is true that human knowledge is bound by what it knows. So basically, it means that things that you're not aware of, you would not know. And so when you get aware of it, or when your level of brain develops to a certain expertise, you will know these things. As for Charvak theory, basically, if you read philosophy, it's said that this was a theory which was given by someone called the sage Brihaspati, and it was meant for the Rakshasas. It was meant for them so that they get involved in this idea of living and enjoying life and doing all kinds of pap karmas, they would mean, and so that would lessen their punya as the theory, the believers of this theory predicted. But then this idea of Charvak, it developed further, and so nowadays it's more or less like this theory has been accepted as the theory. And what Charvak says is that whatever is present, we should be living with that, and we should be perhaps there is a line which says that you eat and drink he and drink all you like and eat all you like and live your life, because there is no God, and so you have not seen him, and so you should not be worried about it. That's one way, that's called the Karam Siddhant, where it says that you should do your work, but then the Karam Siddhant doesn't say that you should do these kind of jobs, right? So what basically from my reading, what it appears is that Charvak is the only theory which doesn't follow the ideology of either the Vedas or the idea of the one God theorem. But then, as I said, there are different views of living. Some people believe in God, other people don't believe in God, and Charvak is just one example which says that the actions that you do, the karma that you do, defines your work. But then it's the theory is a lot misinterpreted also, so one should be careful in understanding Charvak. But I'll definitely agree with the idea that if you've not seen something, doesn't really mean that it doesn't exist. Now, I also have a question from Arun Pandey, and so the question says that, could we have some advanced notifications of live sessions so that we can plan to attend by scheduling it? It becomes difficult for working people to attend on short notices. Yes, that's a very good suggestion, Arunji. So what I'll do is I'll ask, there is actually an advanced notifications, but I'll reiterate to my team that they put these suggestions multiple number of times for people who are working professionals to schedule their day in such a way that they can attend these suggestions. So I hope that answers your questions, and that answers your question as well, Hussain. So if you are other people here, so sir does science in Empiricism always need proof. Like I had a disease, but when I prayed and took medicines, I am almost cured. So faith or science? Okay. So, okay. So thank you, RNG. So yes, science believes in empiricism. Science believes in the fact that you have to have a cause-effect relationship with everything. But as you said, there are things where by praying and not taking medication, you become good. But then there still has to be a cause and effect, right? It's not purely faith. There has to be a reason why things are happening. What science does is to try and break away reasons. What you call faith, when it gets explained, it becomes science. So whatever you're calling faith for now, someday science will explain it, and now that will become scientific knowledge, right? So for now, yes, it's good to believe that this is called faith, or this is called religion, or this is called belief, and whatnot and what all. But there is always a cause and effect relationship. There has to be a cause and there has to be an effect, and the cause and effect should be related in some way, right? Even for correlations, there are something causing something, although the directions are not known. So yes, in that way, if you look at it, I'll accept your view. Okay, so I'm almost over time for this session on human behavior. It was wonderful to have you all people here to look at your questions and provide answers for your questions with whatever knowledge I have about this subject, human behavior. And so what I'll do is, if there are no further questions, I will probably end this session here. Thank you all for being here with me and putting your wonderful questions forward and giving me an opportunity to solve or provide answers to your questions. So I wish you all the best for your upcoming examinations. I hope you do good. And until we meet again, I'd say goodbye and thank you from the MOOC studio. Bye-bye and all the best.